What's up, everybody? Dan French. It's Tuesday, so that means it's the French Workbench Tuesday show. Here every Tuesday, we're streaming live in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Dan French, and this is the most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs going on through in-job and on-job experience here in Las Vegas. And we have a full studio today. We're going to talk about investment properties. Is that the right place, or is Vegas the right place, and what to get into when you're looking at buying into investment properties. Also, I'm going to talk about a housing market update with both gentlemen here, and talk a little bit about, has this housing market stabilized? Are we in a normal market now? And very interesting. You know, you look at a lot of the data, a lot of the information out there, and I think this housing market is definitely showing signs here in Las Vegas of stabilizing. I think across the country too, but maybe we're a little bit behind on where everybody else is at. So let's go ahead and introduce everybody that's in studio today. And I want to go ahead and introduce Mr. Rich Salas. Rich, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Dan. How are you?
Good, man. Good. I just wanted to thank you for coming on, and you've been here quite a bit. So what's going on with you, man? How's life?
It's going all right. It's going all right. I think I might have mentioned last week that I did have a flood in my downstairs, so I'm still dealing with that at the moment.
You had a flood,
yes,
huh? What happened, man?
The washing
means
machine.
water came down.
Yes, yes. Well, the washing machine overflowed, unfortunately.
What was the root of the cause?
Someone tried to wash a large pillow top mattress cover. I'm not going to say who, and it overflowed the washing machine because I think it blocked the sensor.
I'm not going to say who. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
There's
two people in our household, and it wasn't me. So.
Yeah, but it flooded like half the downstairs. So
right,
you know, we're dealing with the insurance company and all that stuff. But thank God for homeowners insurance.
So water damage. Did they give you some grief about that? Were they like, "Hey, we're not going to do it"?
You know what? No, because it wasn't. Because it came from an appliance, that type of thing. It wasn't like flood, like waters from the rain. If it had been something like that, I don't know. It might have been a problem. But I think because it came like plumbing. You know, if it's a plumbing thing, I think it's covered by your homeowner's insurance. So we had the water remediation people out, everything, the big fans. They tore up the drywall and everything.
Oh, wow.
But now we've got
that's like a real flood.
But now we've got the contractor's estimate and the insurance estimate and the contractor's estimate.
This is all from a washing machine?
Yes, I know. It's
crazy.
It sounds like it created
Christ,
yeah, it's the master bedroom, the master bathroom, the master
sounds like that washing machine had coronavirus.
Let me make a call. Let me check my house.
No, and two people were home and didn't notice it for like 2 hours.
Oh,
so they're just sitting in water. They're just every time they take a step, it's like.
No, I don't know. I was actually at the office.
Okay, so we've established there's 3 people in that household, and 2 of them were there, and I wasn't one of them.
And I wasn't.
If you guys don't know who that is, that's Mr. Bret Jenny. He's from Simply Vegas. Brett, what's going on, man? Tuesday, little
man.
off the wall for you today, huh? What's going on, man?
Greetings and salutations.
Yeah. Anything new happening in your life?
Just trying to make a buck or 100.
A buck or 100.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. Just
how's that working out doing, man? You run a 5 mile. You run 5 miles what, every morning?
Yeah, every morning.
Wow.
Try to.
Yeah. I mean,
and then the gym too.
Yeah. And the gym. Where do you get time for this stuff, man?
Get up early.
I mean,
it's kind of colder in the mornings now. It's kind of cold in the mornings now. I mean, I used to run at about 6 a.m. and then go to the gym afterwards, but now I might go to the gym earlier and then go for a run at like 8 or 8:30. I'm usually done by 9.
Wow.
Unless I have appointments or something. So I wake up at like 4:35, do about an hour and a half of work, kind of get things together, and then go take me time in the morning to exercise and do all that. And
do you just wake up though, like, because I know a lot of people work from home and it's a luxury, so do you just like wake up, you're in your underwear, you kind of head into the office.
Yeah,
you know I mean? It's like you
don't
got
turn
nothing.
the camera on.
Yeah, right. You know you do that, man.
yeah,
Everybody
don't do any
does that.
FaceTiming yet. You know, no.
You get your cup of coffee and you sit down, and it's just like,
I mean, you know, it's like all of us kind of work from home a lot, right? So it's you kind of always working whenever I have stuff I have to do.
Yeah.
You know, go about my stocks and my crypto for the day and Twitter and kind of see where the activity's at.
Oh, you do Twitter? You do that too?
Twitter, yeah. That's primarily like a lot of my social media is on Twitter.
You do a little tweet.
Uh-huh. the Vegas dude #1.
Also, Esmeralda Lucia is back. Esmeralda, thanks for coming in on a Tuesday. What's up, everybody? We have a great show. We're going to talk a lot about what's going on in the housing market. Anything new with you? Esmeralda?
A lot of Halloween parties. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to do that even though
Making your rounds.
I mean, people really kind of reserve last year. So are you is it, do you guys feel like in Las Vegas and just in general, people are over the fear of COVID as far as doing the Halloween thing?
You know what? I ended up going to the Golden Knights last week. That was my first game probably since this year. I mean, last year actually. So that was like, I don't know, probably the most.
Do you go to
I've
watch hockey or do you go to watch the hockey players?
both. Both.
She's like, Vegas,
well,
hockey?
yeah,
Let's go. I need to see some skating.
My niece, actually, her boyfriend, they're neighbors, so they know him well. But yes, I mean, it was a good game. It was nice. I ran into a lot of people I knew.
They're gonna have to put you in the penalty box.
Right. Everybody today, I mean, I'm telling you right now, there is more love for Vegas Knights than there is for the Raiders.
And
I'm gonna
not
have to.
even doing
You think?
well.
I think so. Look, there's some
You know
Raiders
why,
fans,
though, right?
But let me say this because
You think
it's
it's
born.
about
They were
Gruden?
born here, the Vegas Knights, right? But
Yeah.
a lot of the Raiders fans are not Raiders fans that are like Vegas doesn't adopt them. I don't feel like they've fully
Well, not
adopted
yet.
them yet.
It's
you know?
still fresh.
Yeah, well,
I
you know
think.
what's okay for me. The Raiders are hard because I lived in San Diego for 8 years,
You're
and
a
I grew.
49er.
Well, no, I grew up in LA, and like I grew up in LA, and I got like the Raiders and the Rams left us, so I was like, screw both of them. And then
Yeah,
and then
they
I
did,
moved
man.
to
You guys
San
had like
Diego.
3 teams at once, and they all split.
Right, and then I moved to San Diego, so I adopted the Chargers. So I've been a Chargers fan since I was like 18 years old, and that's like going on 20 years now.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, I'm from Raider hater territory. How do I suddenly start? So I still have a hard time, and I have to admit, when they play, I still root for the Chargers. I shouldn't say that on.
Well, look, man. Hey, let's be honest. I mean, Vegas it's new to Vegas, and
Yeah.
Vegas,
Yeah.
you had to adopt a team before they got
I think
here.
you're right
so-
about
Exactly.
that as far as the
Exactly.
Golden Knights were born and bred here.
Right.
And the Raiders are I mean, listen, man, I'm all for all the sports teams coming here.
Yes, and I'm
Me
happy
too.
you
You
got the
but,
Raiders.
but that's
Very
a good
happy.
that's a good point. I
Well,
never thought about
I think
that.
too, like if you were going to get a sports team right here, maybe they changed the name. I know it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but completely like
No,
it's almost
yeah.
like starting over. And maybe you would have more of like, hey, you know what? Let's bring them in.
But
like
they
one
don't
of our
they
own,
don't
you
do
know?
that unless it's a brand new team. Like look at the Baltimore Colts, Indianapolis Colts,
Yeah, yeah,
St. Louis Cardinals, Phoenix Cardinals.
yeah.
You know?
I understand.
So what do you
So
want them to
it's
be
just-
called? Raiders Vegas or what?
No, I mean it would
What
just
happens in Vegas
well, like
stays in Vegas?
You know, like because the Golden Knights were a franchise added on to the
brand new- yeah, an
added
expansion
on to the
Correct. That's-
extension
that's
team.
what I'm
Same
saying.
thing with like with the Seattle Kraken, which is kind of funny.
Seattle Kraken.
Kraken.
Hey, I'm just happy we have sports.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
me,
Hey,
me
what about
too.
the vote on the A's stadium today? Anyone hear how that went?
No, I didn't.
I don't know what happened to it. Do you know what happened to it?
No, I just know they were going to vote in the Alameda or county or wherever
Okay.
today.
Oh.
I think the prediction is they're going to move here. That's, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I
all
know.
signs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm going to go out on
Daddy,
I'm come out of left field on this one. I think they're coming.
That's what I
think they got a shot.
Yeah.
My insiders tell me that is decidedly so. But
And then basketball after that.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
NBA.
And then water
I mean,
polo.
dude, I'm telling you.
You know what I mean?
If we have
Water
like
ping
4
pong
major
tournaments.
professional teams here,
pickleball.
and if you think about it, how can we be the entertainment capital of the world and we've never had pro sports team until
Yeah.
a few years
But
ago?
you know why though?
It's I know because they're
gambling, right?
they're talking
Gambling.
about gambling, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
but now-
that's long
but
that
down
doesn't
the road.
even
But-
happen
but you
unless you
know
ask
what?
Pete Rose.
But that's like a holdover from like the era of
Yeah.
like sin,
Yeah.
sin, and like
Yeah.
the world's view of gambling has definitely
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
And Vegas is wired a lot differently than say like the 80s.
But
You know, casinos
Yes.
you can't for sure say that there probably maybe wouldn't have been something going on there when it was ran by the
yeah, no, I mean things have changed a lot since
Yeah.
the 70s and
So-
80s. This
So,
isn't,
so we
you
got
know-
a couple people here. We're going to acknowledge them.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Nice.
do that.
Running at altitude said, yes, the market appears to be cooling off. And hey, Brett, did you see what Tom Brady gave the, I don't know what
Yeah,
this says.
Bitcoin.
Let me take a look.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
gave
gave
the
because
fan.
he threw what was
Oh.
it like a 600th
I got it.
600th
touchdown
career
pass, and so the kid gave the ball back to Brady.
A full Bitcoin?
Yes.
And Brady was like, that kid
$1,000.
didn't leverage himself enough.
Not even
And
a
just
partial
making-
Bitcoin? It was
gave him
a
a
full
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Gave him a full
Dude,
Bitcoin.
Dude, how many does...
All that kid needs to do is hold on to that forever, and he's. I mean, literally, it could be.
So I heard him last night on the Manning brothers Monday Night Football,
Yeah.
and Tom Brady said it was worth $63,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, like 60,000,
what just
61,000
happened?
today.
What just happened? Because I'm a Brady fan.
So Tom Brady threw his 600th touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one's ever done that,
Nope,
obviously.
first-
so he's the first to do that.
quarterback to do that.
So when he did that, how was it that some kid ended up with the ball?
Oh, because the receiver didn't know it was 600
yeah, didn't know it was
pass,
600, so he throws
hands it to him in the
So he
stands.
gives it to some kid in the crowd, but the kid in the crowd gave it back to Brady because he knew it was his ball. So Tom Brady gave the kid a Bitcoin for it.
So Tom Brady gave a kid his ball.
Yeah, he's with FTX trading. As a crypto platform trading.
So where did the ball end up?
Oh, because
Brady has it.
Oh, so he has it.
They might have gave it to the trainer and he was holding on to it after the game or whatever.
Really?
Okay,
I love him.
I missed that. I missed
be
that.
like-
part.
I'm a players fan.
You'd be like,
I'm not a team fan.
I
I'm a
need
players
a
fan.
Bitcoin and a date.
I need both. I'll be on a date. Sorry, I couldn't make it at the broadcast. No,
Don't mind his supermodel wife.
Right?
it's okay.
Oh, she wears the pants.
Also, we want to give a shout out to Beth. She said, "Go Chargers," and Rich is a Chargers fan.
yeah,
So there you go.
Chargers. Hey man, I don't care.
Chargers.
That's cool. I'm a Packer fan, so go Chargers.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. Let's say this: would you say that the Packers had a better, obviously this year, or would you say that the Chargers had a better year this year so far?
Packers hand down.
Okay. What about you, Rich?
Except for the first game of the year.
What's their record? I don't even know what their record.
6-1.
Okay. So
For the Packers?
Yeah, they lost the first game and they won the last 6.
I got
Well,
you.
I heard the Raiders was only
And you know
one.
the best thing about the Packers last week, we played the Chicago Bears, which is our rival, right?
Right.
So Aaron Rodgers runs in for a touchdown, and some old lady in the Bears crowd starts flicking him off. And he looks up, he looks at her, and you see him on the camera go, "I own you. I still own you." Right to the Bears fans, because every year he goes there and sticks it up there.
he always does that.
He goes, "I own you. I still own you."
Yeah, he always does that thing though, where it's like he tries to put that
he
belt
did
on.
that, and so she started flicking him off, and he goes, "I still own you." Right to the-
Dang. That's aggressive.
Yeah, I don't know, man. To me, it's I feel that, like I said, there's more stories other than the Raiders. I'm not saying the Raiders because I enjoy the Raiders. I like the Raiders when
Yeah.
they were in Los Angeles. So I do adopt them, but it's just, am I following them like I used
You're
to?
a
They're
Or-
doing well
fan,
this
like-
year.
I don't know. You know, I like them though. I do like them.
Considering what they've had happen this
they're-
year,
they're-
they're doing well.
Yeah.
tied for first with the
Yeah.
Chargers.
Yeah.
I think, so.
I mean,
My
think about
family's-
their first year, they couldn't play in the stadium with any fans.
Yeah.
Second year, Gruden's gone after like 5 games.
yeah, and I'm surprised that
My
they were able to
family,
just
a lot of
win.
my family are Raider fans.
Yeah.
They have like seats and they're crazy.
Well, everybody knows too. Like if you got Raiders apparel, you're probably in a gang.
I'm not from Cali, so I'm not claiming anything West Coast fans.
So let's just say that Raiders fans had a reputation in California. I'm not
that is
gonna
so
say
wrong.
anymore.
Let's
I
just
have
say
Raiders clothes.
Hey,
okay?
I just call it as I see it.
I have
I'm not saying-
Cowboys.
But I will
I
say
was a
this.
Cowboy fan for a long time.
Let's just say you don't want to talk smack to him in the parking lot after the
No,
game.
exactly. You're like,
Hey, where did
nice
six of you come from?
Yeah.
All right, let's head into the housing market
All right.
and let's talk about what's going on and investment properties. And right now, is buying an investment property the right thing to do? And a lot of people, you brought this up, Brett. You got a lot of investors coming into Las Vegas, but really, Las Vegas isn't even on the top 5.
No.
Right? They're completely off that list, and you got 5 other cities
Ooh,
that
which
are
what?
Yeah,
Yeah, what
and
are
so
the
let me
top
take a
5?
look at
Let's-
these
let's see
cities.
those.
Are New Hampshire, Delaware, Georgia, Arizona.
Those are cities?
Yeah, I'm sorry, not cities, states.
Wow.
New Hampshire, Delaware.
States.
Geography changed too.
Sorry. Did I say cities?
Yeah.
No, I meant
I was like,
states.
wow. Why don't you educate me?
We're
Preach,
like,
brother,
wait,
preach.
what?
Absolutely. Good call. New Hampshire, Delaware, Georgia, Arizona, Mississippi.
New Hampshire's number 1.
Arizona.
No.
Well, I could
New
see
Hampshire's number
Arizona.
1.
I could see Arizona being one.
So New Hampshire's
Absolutely.
by what? Jersey and New York?
It does have
No, New
coastline.
Hampshire's up. Yeah, it's up towards.
Oh,
it's
New Hampshire.
northern
Okay.
New York.
So
it's
how
up
far,
towards.
I mean,
What?
that's the number 1
Yeah, that's
investor market?
Well, listen, I'm going to explain. So
Yeah.
investors are coming into market right now.
Huh.
And what they're doing is they're actually. Do you think that the investors right now are offering above list to get these houses?
No,
You don't
Yes,
think so?
I do.
I don't know.
Okay.
Tell me.
Esmeralda, what do you think?
I think they are.
You do think they are?
Some of them. Yeah, depending on the deal.
Wrong.
They're not.
No?
Everybody thinks that they're coming in and saying, I'm going to go above list and
Sure.
get this. They're actually going below list.
Well-
and they're only making these
Oh, okay.
investments because they're cash buyers. And so
Well-
you're seeing
Oh,
a
okay.
big
That
influx.
makes a difference.
It does make a huge difference. Now,
No.
you're seeing a lot of cash come into Las Vegas, And you talked about this before.
But that's normal for Vegas.
That's normal for cash buyers too.
Yeah.
To come in below list.
Well, I think that you look at the investment side of it, and people are thinking, well, it's not a good time to invest your money. Well, why are investors coming in and still making offers and still getting offers accepted when they have cash? They got proof of funds, but they're not coming in going, hey, I'm going to give you 20 above. From the statistics, it's showing that they never really did that.
They are here. So I don't know about, those other places, but I can say this. Have you ever heard of, what is his name? Clothier?
Who is that?
No.
Is that a painter?
Kenneth Clothier, I think is his name.
That sounds like an artist or a painter.
No, so
I thought you were trying to refer. I was like, do you mean?
So
Ralph Lauren? Or what are you talking about?
he's part of like a mastermind group and blah blah. So here's what he does basically: is he'll go around to markets that are a little bit underappreciated in the market. So he'll go around to different markets throughout the country. He'll find a house, remodel it, rent it out, and then you buy the house from him with it already fixed up and tenant in place. But he goes to these markets throughout their country. So there are markets like this.
Okay.
So is he
And
giving the loan too?
So he'll stick in his research and finding the markets where people are getting 10, 15% cap return after they're already buying the house, fixing it up, and sticking a tenant in it with a long-term lease. Then he sells it to you. Like my broker, owner of my brokerage, John Gafford, works with him or does some deals with him. And I think he said he wanted to do like 10 homes. And the guy's like, I'm going to need about 7 months. Or I'm going to need about 3 or 4 months to get you 10 homes with that. But every one of them is going to have between, I think, 12 to 15% cap rate. Yeah. And it's from finding markets throughout the country where you're, that still have that variance in there where you can make for a cap.
You know where the market was really good and it might still be in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't make the list, though.
Well, depending.
Well, no, I'm not saying in the top like now, but I'm just saying in general, it was a lot of.
I would say depending. There's probably some cities like I know Austin, Texas was the #1 city for home prices escalation in the past year. So, there might be some other places like Lubbock, Texas, or something where. Isn't that in a college city?
I like
things
Houston.
like that. Yeah.
Houston.
I like Houston.
So check this out. 29%. So you look at investors, right? They pay 29% less than the average home buyer out there buying a house. Look at that margin.
Yeah. And they know what they're doing though too. So maybe they've got
and they're going after NODs and people that are
So let's talk about the average person out there that's investing, that's not an investor, let's say they're not a group of investors. If you're out there buying an investment property as an individual, now is there an opportunity for you? And when you're going into this market, how many investors do you guys see out there or do you deal with? Because I feel that there's this investor market.
I mean, I haven't dealt with that many investors lately.
Well, and I was going to say, even if we're talking about these markets, like, those might be the best markets, but for a lot of people who are just looking to own 1 or 2 investment properties, it's not realistic to live in Nevada and own an investment property in Delaware. Or I mean, they can.
But they're planting their money though. They're looking at like what's the future return. Even
but
if
obviously, it's from us not even being in the top 5, you're going to get more bang for your buck in other places. Right now,
you will, but I mean, why is Vegas still hot though? You read just the other day
because there's not any supply.
Well, but they're still buying them now. They might not buy them.
Also, are you thinking about short-term rentals when you're buying an investment property now? Or
I always suggest that to people, which is, I have a buddy right now, and he wants to buy a second property down here, wants to buy a condo, and he's like, well, should I just? He mainly wants to do it for tax reasons. Okay. And he's like, do I want to rent it out for a year? He's like, but I want to come down there for half a year. I said, dude, here's what you need to do. You need to rent it out for a 3 months or 6 month period and have it fully furnished because you're going to get double in rent for those 6 months on it being fully furnished. And then you can have the other 6 months to do what you want with it if you want, because it's super hard to find short-term rentals in this town.
Well,
3 months, 6 months, dude, super hard. And when you do, you got to pay double.
So check this out. All investors that were out there investing in this market, Las Vegas, they're actually not going below list.
I know.
And what it's saying, they're not.
I know.
And I'm looking at this now and I'm saying, well,
because there's too much competition.
Well, there's too much competition. Yeah. So Nevada and California landed on the list that they're paying whatever that price is. But across the country, you have investors coming in offering less price and they're getting those accepted. So again, it comes back to, is Las Vegas just that hot of a market? I thought we were slowing down. I feel like
we're the #1 entertainment capital in the world.
Yeah.
And just by the nature of it, it's a transit city in some regards, but it's also a hot city that's continually to grow and people want to be here.
And I know in the short
You
term, our rent prices have skyrocketed, and
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
sure
my
that's
God,
driving
they're
some
insane.
investor behavior right now.
Absolutely.
Saying, well, look at the return
It's
on my
crazy, man. I
investment,
mean, literally you
especially
paid
if I bought a year
$1,500
ago.
2 years ago, and now it's $1,900, $2,000.
No, it's
Right.
more. It's like $2,200.
Yeah, and it's not just the
what was
asset
Crazy.
appreciated,
Is
the
it?
income
There you go.
has-
Yes.
The income potential has appreciated so much.
Yeah, I mean the market share that investors have right now it's always been low. It's usually about 10 to 15%, but it's at that high end right now. It's 15%. So they're
15%.
with
For
all
Vegas?
well, just in general. I mean across the board. So
Across the board.
in Vegas, I don't really know that number, but I can still say that I see a huge influx of investors, and it's not just like if you're going to invest into a property, right? Would you guys want to get a pool of investors to invest with you, or would you want to do it on your own? That's a good question because I think a lot of people don't know or don't think maybe I should get a pool of investors to invest into, say, a 20
I would do
or
both. I would
40
do
to
some
build.
on
I
my
guess I'd
own
want to see
and
the
some of the
numbers
group.
on both.
If you
know,
get a pool of
possibilities.
investors, you're basically raising a fund.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot more damage 10 times quicker. Like, Ryan Pineda,
Yeah.
home run offer. I want to buy your house.
Yes.
Whether it's the White House
Yes.
or whatever it is.
With those teeth.
That's how he has all that money to do those commercials and buy those homes. He has a fund. And he pools a bunch of basically investors' money together as a fund, and that's how he's able to do that.
Yeah, I have several clients that
Kudos
have
to him,
that.
too,
They
for
have
doing that.
They have investment groups. I mean, many years ago that they put together, and they own commercial buildings. They own
Yeah.
they own a lot of
But you
stuff.
could
Well,
do more
listen though, you
with
got to ask
a
yourself this
pool.
question, right? So where do
Buy
where do
bigger
they where do they get this money, right? Is it syndicated through people, or do they just ask people? Like, meaning, do they ask people,
Yeah, they do.
or do they invest that money with those people? And what I'm curious to see is there money invested with people like those types of investors?
Well,
because
you put in a
you'll know-
percentage.
yeah, you'll know how much trust or how much faith they got in themselves.
That's where the art comes into play.
Of what?
How do I get other people to give me their money?
right.
It's literally an art.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think that most people that are
Called sales.
well, if they
Yeah,
ask you to
but-
be investing, is probably people that you know, and depending on who that is and how much money you're putting too.
Yeah.
To somebody putting 80 grand is nothing. To someone else, that might be all they're
Yeah,
saving.
but
Might be
you
everything.
still got to have your shtick down pretty good to be able to get
Yeah.
people to give you money.
Well, you do.
Especially if you're talking
I'm not-
about like 10 million, 15 million.
I'm not
like,
saying
hey,
not
if you
to
got family
invest.
friends that can give you a 500 a pop, that's great, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying not to invest. I'm just saying in general, where like you have to have a history, right? You got to have a resume,
Yeah.
and I think that's
In a
what you
sense,
look at. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's like I hate to say it, but it's like presidencies and things like that. Like what shows that they actually had a history or resume?
You mean like
That shows-
trustworthy or your word?
Well, are
or-
you the best person for the
Yeah.
job,
How did you
or is it
perform in
just
your
hey, it's
prior-
all fluff and I'm on YouTube and I'm doing this and I'm
Yeah.
doing that?
Or have you
Because-
actually made money investing?
correct? Show me let me see your portfolio
Yeah.
about what you've actually done that's successful.
Let me see.
I
your
know.
things.
I'll tell you this. I know. I'm not gonna say who it is, but he was very young. He was probably like, I'm gonna say his early 20s. He made like $1 million in like the first year, and every year after that. And he grew this team. He grew this group of investors to actually start buying properties. This is maybe like 10 years ago, and he built this credibility with these because he was this young kid that
Yeah.
started, and then he and he was very humble. You wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
He drove like a little, small car. Like he
Yeah.
didn't really tell people. He just did his thing. I knew because I was his rep, so I knew how much transactions he was having.
Yeah.
Sure.
And but he built that, and now he has his own company. He has multiple companies, but I mean, he did well.
So
Yeah.
take me through the process with you guys. I mean, you guys are out there. Let's talk about the housing market. So we talk about investors. We're going to talk about what experiences you guys have had with buyers out there. Is it a slow market? Have we stabilized?
It's
Brett?
slow. It's slower, man.
Is this a stabilized market where we have enough inventory now, though?
That's
No.
the problem. There's still not enough inventory. So, as much as the movement of buyer activity might have stalled a little bit, there's just nothing for homes.
And it depends
So
on
so it doesn't really go anywhere. I mean,
Is
we're
it a
literally.
price range that it's
Yes,
sold,
I was
or
gonna
is
say
it
it depends on your price
just in
range.
general?
So I don't
general
see. What was
still.
it? Last month was the first month in Las Vegas since the beginning of 2020 that home prices have not gone up. So it's the first time in 18, 19 months that home prices have not gone up every month.
Well, July and August were flat, but September it did go up by 100. Okay. It went up by 1,500. So basically July, August, and September.
You said 1,000.
Yeah, so 1,500. No, that's
it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, so, but you don't see things falling either.
Nope.
There's just simply no homes on the market.
Well, I think
we have 1.1 months of inventory.
Yeah.
To the
so even if you have the buyer pool cut in half, there's still not enough homes to cover that.
Yeah. So where are these investors buying this money? Like, where are they finding these properties in? Because obviously they're still buying it. They're on this list. They're on
because if you're able to come in something 400,
there are still homes for sale. Of course, there's still deals closed.
Yeah.
So
the
way you guys are sounding is like it's just dead. Like
no,
don't even try.
No, not at all.
No, it's not that. But hold on. But for years,
nice interpretation, Dan.
Yeah.
We didn't say anything along those lines.
Us having way too small of inventory has been going on for years. This is not a problem. It's just that it went from having 2.3 months of inventory to less than a month of inventory.
And we're used to seeing
that's gotten worse.
We're used to seeing almost a year of multiple offers on every single thing. So just because we don't get multiple offers, we're like, oh, what's going on with the market? Normal.
Well, an article came out recently and said this is no longer a multiple offer scenario.
That
market.
Is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
so
I think it depends still on
then?
Your price point.
Dude, I'm seeing builders now come back and offer 3-4% commission to realtors. They're offering buyer incentives. All sorts of things that no lot premiums. These are things that are unheard of 6 months ago.
Yeah, new cars.
No, they're not being built yet.
The dealers can't even get new cars. So.
New leases. I don't even talk about that. I'm still dealing with that shit.
No, but so listen, would you invest into a house or would you invest into Bitcoin, Brett?
NFT.
And a Bitcoin.
NFT. I'd buy a dinosaur.
So I think that they are about to clamp down on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies with a lot of new treasury regulations.
They've been saying that for 10 years, bro.
I just had to throw it out there because
Bitcoin was going to zero 1,001 times now.
Brett was like, and he just went at it. So, but we're looking at the investment properties right now. So,
I was joking.
Investment properties, okay, when you deal with investors, you're not seeing an influx, but you did talk about that builders are now connecting with investors and making agreements with investors. You see iBuying happening a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now Zillow's kind of pulled off a little bit.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so they've pulled back. So is that going to be the new thing where investors are going to try to work with these iBuyers?
Zillow's the only iBuyer that I've seen that's pulled back.
Yeah.
The rest of them are still full speed ahead.
Why did they pull back?
They must have overextended themselves somehow.
Because in order to get the properties to where they need to be to sell, they need to get them fixed, repaired, and supplies and labor is really hard to get right now.
Well, I read
they're backlogged on a bunch of properties because of that reason.
I read it was like same thing with China is they overbought, they overbuilt. They overbought.
No, they didn't. I haven't heard they overbought. It's just they're backed up with it. Well, I guess they bought as far as they couldn't fix them up and keep up with the supplies that needed to fix it up and the repairs to keep it up. So they're backlogged. So in that sense, they couldn't keep up, but. I don't think they overbought as far as, we're down on they're down on the books because they got backlogged.
Yeah. But
that's supply issue.
So going back to the investment side of homes, okay, and you're dealing with people out there, then you see the return on investment. Do you guys feel that there's a huge return on investment for investors right now in this market in Las Vegas? Like, why are they buying if they're not getting a huge return? Because I don't see that they're really getting a huge return.
Because they're looking at the bigger picture. It's the same reason why you see the hedge funds that are coming in and buying directly from the builders and then rent with the plan of renting every one of the homes out.
They want to dominate the market.
Yeah.
So if they end up doing that, they'll dominate.
So how's anyone ever going to mess with your market if you own it?
There's also something here that I think a lot of people don't really understand.
You run the show.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's about the way your income is taxed from real estate. And when you basically own rental property, you basically show losses that aren't real by depreciating your property.
Yep.
And so you have income from your rental properties that you don't pay taxes
There's
on.
lots of different ways owning investment properties that work for you with taxes.
But I do think that it's like you basically have free income from rental properties. So the yields don't have to be as good as you would think they would have to be.
Now, if you did a 1031 exchange, they're trying to change laws on that. Do you know anything about the 1031 exchange?
Yeah, I know they just changed the 1031 exchange a few years ago because you used to be able to do it with all kinds of investment property, not just real property. And then they limited it to real property a few years ago. And I think what they're trying, I'm not exactly sure what the proposals on the 1031 are right now, but I think it might be either limiting it in value, limiting it to a single transaction, something like that.
What's the time frame in actually converting or like selling your property or buying a property after you sell it through the 1031
I think it's 90 days perhaps, but I have to be honest.
That changed.
Yeah, I don't think they changed the time frames yet with the 1031 because I don't.
I
think
heard
that
you have
raising
to have a property
but it's
identified.
the length of time that you can defer your taxes, possibly. That
I heard they're raising the
trying to-
tax on it though. Is that
Oh,
gonna,
capital gains.
is that capital gains?
Yeah. So there were a lot of proposals that now seem to be off the table. If you've been tracking this, massive bill that the Democrats are trying to pass. So I think a lot of the capital gains things are now actually not going to go into effect.
So it was something proposed, and now they've retracted,
Yeah,
right?
because they couldn't get the support to pass the bill. So
Imagine
a lot
that.
of the tax proposals are off the table now. But they were talking about raising the capital gains rate, and capital gains is the taxes you pay when you hold property.
Well, if you don't live
for
within 2
more than a
years.
year.
Yeah.
No, 2 years,
Yeah.
isn't it?
What's it?
I thought it was 2.
Well, that's different. That's for that's your primary residence, and that's if you live in your home for more than 2 years, and then you
And then
sell
sell
it,
for
and
a
you get
profit,
this large
yeah.
exclusion of your capital gains
Then
up to
you
a
gotta
certain
hold out
amount.
for 2
But
years.
capital gains is you pay it no matter how long you hold it, but long term is the nice low rate that people want. So investment properties, but when you make money off your investment property from you bought it 100, sold it for 300, you got to pay money. You got to pay taxes on that money.
So what are you guys seeing right now? So let's talk data. I know you brought some data for me. You brought some information on what's going on in the housing
Let's get to
market.
these numbers, man.
I want to see what you got. So where is the statistics
Ooh,
at?
that's a
Month
sexy
supply.
page of numbers right there.
Let's talk about
All
that.
right, so we got single family units.
Oh.
So, and this is showing that this is September's numbers, so they came out a few weeks ago. And this is showing that prices, the median price did go up.
406.
Yeah, 406.5. So last month
Still
it
went
was
up.
405.
I
but it
told
only
you
went
that.
up
Remember, you said it was like
1,500.
385. I'm like, dude, it's
crazy.
4 something now.
Wow.
So-
I thought it was in the 3s.
No,
What
it
happened?
hit 405
Incorrect, ma'am.
in July. In June, it was 395. and
Okay,
then it
see,
went up
I
to
knew I saw
405.
3 something.
Yeah, it went up to 405 in July. I
Look at
believe.
that. Effective availability, 0.7 months.
Yeah, now that's condos.
Oh, condos, okay.
Yeah, so single family
1.1.
residence,
Still.
1.1. But the thing that is also really stark is you have to look at how much it's
Jesus.
dropped from a year ago.
So a year for availability for homes on the market is down 25% from last year.
Yeah, we had 20. Yeah, we had that
20.
much more
It's down
inventory a
25%
year ago.
for supply in the market.
Wow.
So that's a big deal. Yeah.
So what is the month supply? You said one little
1.1.
more month?
Yeah, 1.1 months is what they say is the supply right now.
Okay. So let's go back and talk about the multiple offer scenarios. And Brett, you know this. I'm sure you know this, Rich. I'm not seeing it. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
every I'm
What
just
do you
not,
mean you're not seeing it?
Well, I'm not seeing it. Like if I submit an offer, not every property they're saying there's not a multiple offer, but when I submit an offer, it's like, oh, you're the only offer. And it's
Oh,
like,
good.
oh, and they're like, hey, we'll negotiate and we'll work with you. You go back a few months,
Yeah,
it was
wasn't
like,
the
hey,
case.
take a number.
This
There
summer,
would
no
be
way.
a point.
Yeah.
There would be a point where the selling agent wouldn't even respond to you.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
just
thought
I
that
had
was
that a
against
bunch
the
this summer.
law.
They wouldn't even acknowledge that I sent them an offer.
be like,
Yeah.
you're the 39th
Oh my
offer.
God.
We've got
They're full
Terrible.
price offers too.
Yeah.
Think about that.
They're like,
a
take
market
a
where you're
number.
submitting
All
full
over
price
this
offers,
thing.
people doing
Yeah.
like 40% down, and you don't even get a response.
Wow. I mean, that's a problem. And look, so now it's retracted, and just like the builders are like, hey,
Yeah.
we're not going to give any type
Yeah.
of compensation for realtors.
Yeah, they were
now.
getting-
Now they're doing everything and
Well,
throwing
the
everything.
problem with that is when you act that way, people remember.
They do. People have long
So now guess
memories
whose
when
turn it
comes
is.
to money.
right?
As a buyer's agent, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, you can't really be that way because there's still hardly any inventory.
Right.
So, I mean, let's put it this way. A buyer at least has some say in it now.
And did you?
I'm not saying they're going to
Yeah.
get the kitchen sink and everything else under, right now, but they're at least being able to have a say, and that wasn't possible for the past year. Sorry, go ahead, man.
Oh no, I was gonna say I didn't mean to cut you off. But
Yeah,
I
no
was-
worries.
Did you see this thing? I saw it come out a couple days ago, and Clark County is actually going to buy a parcel of land and
Yeah.
construct like I don't know 100.
Put up like
single-family
$250,000 homes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sell them
For
to
low income families.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sell them
Well, I
to
think that's a good idea,
homeowners
though.
and because it's it's getting to be so
Well,
hard.
here's the question though: is like, what's the qualifications to get these programs? So, and that's another thing.
You have to as a household
Knock up,
income,
probably.
probably make only up to a certain amount as a household income.
right, but enough to pay. I'm assuming some kind of mortgage on the home.
I mean, listen, you're still going to have to qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like cities like, we're just going to give you your mortgage. You know, they're just going to be able to make it affordable. So, and that's what they can do because it's BLM land. So the city's able to come in and purchase it, and then they can do what they want and sell it super cheap. Where obviously a builder's not going to sell it for that price because they won't make any money.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think I was reading something
not
about
as much.
Nevada is owned is owned by the government. Like 70% of the land is owned by the government.
So
it's
like
even more,
85%
but
of the state's owned by the government.
That's what I'm saying. Nevada. Yeah. So it's like it's crazy because you would think that those things would go on a lot more.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the builders.
Well,
the builders. I mean, they
who
gotta-
cares if the government owns
lot of the
desert
land
10
is
miles outside the
unusable.
city? No one wants to live there.
Yeah, 'cause
Great
it's-
free housing that no one can.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, it's a lot of it doesn't
Well, the
have
area
water,
matters.
so it makes it
Exactly.
unusable.
It does. I don't care what
And,
nobody
and all the
says.
immediate area in Las Vegas, for the most part, is owned by somebody, which is why this is rare because it was an actual spot that wasn't owned by a private individual.
You know, what'd be smart is to set up shop at Death Valley and just shop.
Dang, Death Valley. Wow.
That's just playing. That would be smart, Brett.
Now that's a national
Seasonally
park.
warm winters.
No, but you look at Las Vegas, and we're still growing. Now, we always talk about, is there land available, right? Is there land that people are going to be able to buy on homes, and is the builders going to run out of land? I think they're going to start building north. We have this discussion, but it's interesting because if builders still control the market and we don't see any type of recession or regression, a reset, I can't see how we're not going to continue to go to 450, 500,000 as the median price point of a home.
That's crazy.
What do you think?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think builders are intentionally trying to drive up prices or anything like that. I think they're just trying to do their numbers and their books.
I think
And look at the economy and equate everything into that. So if prices do start to keep going up or stay the same or whatever it is, it's because that's how the numbers work out for them as a business, not because
But
they're
is the
purposely trying
price
to.
of homes because it's consumer confidence? Look, if you got COVID, you got
Well,
all
then
these things.
that will take care of itself. Then.
I know, but listen, you have all these things happening. People lost their jobs. Everybody was in a problem, had a problem last year, including into this year. You still have people trying to get back to work, but you still have people buying homes. The consumer confidence is still there, and it actually seems like it's increased even through all these problems.
You know,
It looks like it didn't even. I mean, it phased people for like a first month, and then everyone's like,
well,
didn't even- I mean, seriously.
yeah, but see, the thing is now we're seeing real consumer inflation, supply chain breakdowns, and
Absolutely.
and this isn't gonna get solved.
You
by
want your Christmas gift? You better
or-
order it now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've
What?
looked
You
at
said
the.
buy your Christmas?
Not
If you
only
want
are
your
there
Christmas
no
gift, you
cars
better order it
available,
now,
But
because-
the dealers are putting dealer adjustments of 5,000,
Yeah.
6,000 on the
Dude,
12 cars they're able to.
Dude, I
get.
had a buddy who had a 1-year-old Denali, and
It's worth more than what you paid for it.
the dealership basically offered him $5,000 more than he paid for it brand new the year before.
Yeah.
it's because they don't have.
So he
they
did
don't
it. He's
have
like,
the
all
car.
right. So
cars.
now he's driving a Hyundai.
Yeah.
Because he's like, dude,
Right.
I made like
got it.
$5,000 for driving a car for a year.
Yeah.
High demand. They could sell it.
High demand, but
Yeah.
see, a lot of people at that $5,000 extra isn't
I
going
know,
to be
right?
so
I was thinking
easy
about
to
my Jeep.
swallow.
I have a couple cars.
know.
Yeah, I have a couple. I was thinking about
I
it.
don't really drive no more.
Yeah.
So the housing market, do you think it's going to hit 450, 500? That's the question.
Eventually, but not for a while.
Okay, you don't think
You
it's...
mean the average?
Yeah, the median price home.
I mean, we're years from that, I think.
really?
Yeah, maybe not.
Think about how fast we went, though, from 350 to 4 was a very quick
Okay.
window. I mean,
now,
it was,
how many years have we been around, and how many times did that happen?
well, but it's going to come down to supply and demand.
Correct.
And that is a
Are
problem.
people going to continue to be paying a premium above list and drive the market up? Because that's really what's going to happen into 2022.
man, everything's going to cool down. I mean, it's starting to cool down. So
Yeah, but it's this time of year, Brett. It's
So
not-
that's
it's
It happens
always-
every year.
Yeah, this is
absolutely. So I'm not making an argument that things are gonna, go down and do all these things. I'm not making I'm just saying that I don't see it going from $410,000 to $500,000 at an average price within the next 5 years.
So if you're a person out there trying to buy a house and you're listening to this,
Maybe 5 years.
Would you tell them to jump in the market now, not because you're a realtor, not because you want to be biased and say buy now, but because you think that it's going to increase?
How am I supposed to answer that honestly? Because I am a realtor and everyone knows that.
I know, but did you take the realtor test? Right? The lie test?
I am always
some
on.
degree of ethical behavior.
My personal
behind your
opinion is
actions.
this: anytime that you can afford to buy a house, you should buy a house. So let's start. Let's start with number one. Let's dissect it a little bit. What's your alternative?
Rent.
There you go.
Throw
So
money
you're going to
away.
pay more for rent
Yeah,
than
but
you are for a house.
what if you're not in a position to support a house payment on a long time position?
Well, then how are you going to rent then?
Because that's a short time position.
Then-
Let's say
then-
that you
then-
don't know
then
where your
rent.
job's going to be.
Like
Right.
I said, anytime that you're in a position where you can buy a house, you should. That doesn't sound like you're in a position that you
Well, I think
you know.
somebody's skeptical. Look at what happened in the housing market in the crash. Look
Yeah.
at what's going on. People maybe are thinking, well, is this going to happen again?
No.
Is the economy going to collapse? Because
No.
Okay, I
So
understand that.
the economy, I will say that inflation's going to get us more than we think, and it's going to come quicker than we think. But at the same time, what's behind the housing market going up this time are apples and oranges compared to what happened in 2010, 2007, 2008, 2009.
Right.
I mean, completely different. You as a lender, man. I mean, remember Nina loans? No income, no assets?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a teacher, and you make like $50,000 a year, but you walk in and you're like,
That's not going to be introduced. I don't think that's ever going to come back anytime soon.
Exactly. That's
Right.
what I'm saying is so let me ask you this. For people who are getting loans, so what was it, like 35 to 40% of the buyers, first of all, in Las Vegas were cash.
Yep.
They're not getting foreclosed on
Right.
unless they don't pay their property taxes.
Correct.
Okay. Number two, you as a lender, what was the average that people were doing for a down payment?
I mean, the same as it is today.
Was it
Okay.
3%?
Now,
Yeah.
now
Or 20?
would it be fair to say that the documentation they needed to bring in and verify was legit and extensive?
I think it's like this. It's kind of a bad analogy, but you're a bartender, right?
Yep.
You're given information and you said,
Whose
okay,
phone is that?
this is what banks are doing to try to give an approval.
Mm-hmm.
If you're given an opportunity to give somebody a loan based upon a certain qualification or criteria, saying a stated income,
Sure.
it's a judgment call, but at the same time, you got to look at it and say, well, if banks are willing to offer it and people out there hear about it, then it must be okay to give it. Now, in some cases, obviously, you're like, wait a
But
second.
those loans aren't being
Hold
given
on.
out.
Hold on. So the criteria of what was going on at that point, the mindset is completely shifted.
Yes.
And today, you have more qualified and more guidelines and
Yes.
more restrictions.
You just proved my case.
Okay,
Right.
So
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, but here's another thing, and I think
Judgment,
this is
Bret
something
Jenny.
that people always want to forget, and this is something that was not unique to the great, fall of 2008. And that's that all markets are cyclical to some extent.
Yes.
And one of the things that was ridiculous about 2008, forget about all the crazy loans they made, which was insane. But people, it's fine. It's keep going up. It's going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up. That's bull crap. Nothing keeps going up forever. We've had financial markets forever, and they cycle. And guess what? At some point, we're going to have to come down at least somewhere.
But what
along the
about Wall
lines.
Street bets? Stocks go nothing but
Well,
up.
look, it.
Stocks don't go nothing but up.
I know, but
Stocks-
that's the mentality behind
Stocks
it.
have only gone up this year because
Yeah.
we've printed $5 trillion.
That's
and they
what,
all went into
if
the stock market.
If anything, that's what's going to get us more than anything is people don't realize that 40% of all the money ever printed in the history of our country, 40% was printed in the last 2 years.
So how many
Of all the money that's ever
Listen.
been printed in the history of our country.
The point of why we're bringing this up is why are buyers discouraged because the prices of homes, in your guys' experience and dealing with clients making offers, are they discouraged in this market? And if they are discouraged now, what makes them think that you're going to have a better shot in 6, 12 months?
Some of them aren't, and that's I think the real
Mine
point
aren't.
here. What's going to
I'm the best
happen
realtor in the
here
world. They
is
love-
that for prices to keep going up, it's going to become investor driven, and the average person in Vegas is going to become a lower and lower percentage of them being homeowners, and a higher and higher percentage of them
Agreed.
being renters.
Agreed.
That's I think the only realistic way that
The
prices
city's
are gonna
begging for
continue
it.
to rise.
We're entertainment capital of the world. It's a transit city.
So
taxes,
what hope,
people are
what
making
hope
the
are you
migration.
giving out there, families out there that are trying to buy? I mean, it sounds very doom and gloom. I mean,
No.
what hope? Do you,
No, it
does
doesn't.
not.
So,
I mean, it's like just
so
don't even try.
I think,
No,
I think,
no, no,
I
no.
think,
Sign your
I
rent.
think we covered this a couple months ago, which is what they're finding out now the new norm for people who are buying is there's 3 or 4 or 5 different family members going in together, and they're all going in on the loan together.
Or you're going to have to readjust what you can afford. You might have to buy in a zip code that wasn't your first choice and put a little work into that.
Buy
house.
outside it.
What's the last deal that you had that went sideways? What was the challenges?
What's going on right now?
What's the challenges that you dealt with? What is it?
The buyer bought a car.
So
in the middle of the
Really?
explain what
Lord.
happened.
Well, listen, in her defense, she's a single mom.
And she had to.
And her lease was up, and she needed a car, man, for her job, and
Just
it was
bad
like one of those
timing.
things where her car broke down too, and it was like it's nothing that she wanted to have to do, but she had to.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, what are you
No.
going to do? You can't.
No, you
So
have to.
what
You
ended-
have to
blame
have a
somebody for
car.
doing
You
what they
to
have
a
to.
car.
What ended up happening? Did you have to completely cancel, or did
Yeah, we had to
Okay.
cancel, and the agent on the other side's being an
Knocking her
asshole.
in.
Well, look, you got-
and,
but you-
and he won't have his seller sign it, so it might have to go to arbitration.
Really?
I mean, mediation. All because he's the listing agent. And the seller's pissed off.
Well,
But the thing about
let me say that, too.
contracts is they're not open for interpretation.
They're not. I mean, let me say this
He'll find
on
that
the
out.
listing side, though. Look, on the listing side of it, you have to understand that I understand his position.
I do, and him and I had a great relationship before this, as far as in the deal. So I completely understand, and I've had maybe not that exact same scenario, but a scenario where I've had to go back to my seller. So I understand all that. But the thing about contracts is whether you're on this side or that side, contracts still read what contracts read. There's no room for ambiguity in it.
Yeah, you either breached or you didn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't say the loan contingency is within 23 days unless listing agent and seller feel that the buyer was lying.
Yeah.
It doesn't say unless.
yeah.
It says if these things are turned in by a certain date and cancel the loan, legally they're canceled.
Yeah.
There's no interpretation for that, man.
yeah. So I mean,
They'll find that out,
So from your experience, when you go through a situation like that, do they actually get the money back for this? Meaning, if you've had situations
So
where
they
sellers don't want to keep that money, right?
Well, the sellers don't
Some
really care.
sellers do.
The seller's not at this point probably trying to keep the money. They just want to be a jerk back to the buyer. So that's what it's about in this case.
So now it's like
either
you wasted my time. I'm going to waste yours.
yeah,
Wow.
and that's why agents come into play, because people get salty, and this one the agent's even being salty. So I understand, because you had a whole shitstorm you had to go back to on a seller, and sellers will take it out on you and think it's you even though it's not your fault. So I understand his position, but I mean, I don't know what to
you
tell
can't-
you. It's an unfortunate situation, but that has nothing to do. What I think and what he thinks and anybody thinks doesn't have anything to do with it. That's why you go back to the contracts.
You got to tell your seller that they're
Yes.
not going to prevail when they're on the wrong
They're not. So
side.
here's what's going to
So-
happen. They can be a jerk all they want, and it's going to go to mediation, and my buyer's going to win hands down. It's not even anything to think about, because the contracts read what they read.
Right.
What were you going to say, Esmeralda? Go ahead.
I guess with that being, and this is more of a lender question. Okay, so she bought the car, so that dropped her debt ratio. Is that what happened? And then she was no longer qualified?
Yeah,
or
I don't
Dan?
really know.
Could have done all kinds of things to her.
Well,
credit.
I mean,
can she? I guess my question is, can she redeem herself and move forward?
Well,
in a month or
She
whatever.
probably can, but that has nothing to do with having to cancel this deal.
Yeah, because once you got a hint of like, hey, there's an
Yeah.
issue, now everybody's up in arms, and now the opportunity to work with somebody, that's like a 50-50, because you don't really have something in writing or something definite that, hey, with this payment, we're okay. Now, yes, you're absolutely right. To answer your question, the debt ratio probably went up, and now she doesn't have the ability to buy the house because now she's too far gone. And if she would have had that conversation with a lender or realtor before she did that, probably would have avoided it. Maybe even softened the situation.
It's one of those things where you go back in your mind, and there's a million different conversations.
I mean, because
you
you could
can
have
tell
like
your
an
buyer.
extension and been like, hey, like, can I keep the car for another 2 weeks and like make an extra payment?
She had already bought the car when this happened. Like, it was, I was Johnny come lately finding all this out. So, I
was it a nice car at least?
I haven't seen her say. I don't know.
Was it an Audi? Hey, was it an Audi?
It stopped everything. Yeah, it better be worth it. Better be a damn Audi or a Lexus. Or
man.
I mean,
it can't be a
Mercedes,
Hyundai, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You said a Hyundai.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's just unfortunate for everyone involved, And like I said, I understand the listing agent scenario, and believe me, man, when I dropped the bomb on him, I didn't want to have to be the one telling his seller.
Well, look.
So I get it, but at the end of the day, man, I don't know what to tell you. Life is sticky sometimes, and nothing was done intentionally.
Yeah.
And man, you do enough deals, stick around long enough in this business, and shit happens.
Yeah. And I think though too, you do have to manage your unrealistic seller and be like, you got to give this money back.
At a certain point, you need to have that come to Jesus talk with him, which is like, I understand, but the contracts don't care.
Yeah, and if you take this past mediation,
Well, if
I'm
it's in
gonna get you
writing,
for
it's-
attorney's
But
fees, too.
you know, people, they're not necessarily all business people,
I
let
know,
alone
they're-
professionals.
It's like,
so
well,
they
I
don't
want to
ca-
bring
they
my
don't care.
emotions into this.
Yeah.
Let's answer this question here.
Sure.
So Beth put up a question that says maybe instead of what does it say? Single family home, people need to settle for a condo or townhome until they can move up.
Agreed.
That's
Not a lot of
exactly-
talk about that.
Agreed.
No,
That's
agreed.
exactly
Yeah,
right.
she's
100%.
100%
You're gonna
correct.
have to
Yep, that'd
readjust
be a great way to go about it.
Very good input on that too, because I think you're not out of the market buying a condo or
So
townhome.
here's the I will say this though. I agree with her, and that's a great way to go about it. One kind of hinge in that whole thing, or glitch in that whole thing, which is, buyers in the past, it's like, so a lot of these HOAs for these condos have 150, 175, some of them $200 a month HOAs.
Oh, that's
So you're paying, you could go get a single family residential for $25, $35 a month HOA. So now you're paying $150 to $175 more.
Well,
On
let me
top
say
of your,
this.
on
That's
top of
pretty
your,
low for
basically your
a-
mortgage.
that's pretty
So
low
I
for
mean,
an
how much
HOA
home
though.
can you get more
Well,
for $200?
But
Look.
you also don't have to pay for water. You don't have to pay for sewer.
Well, in
A
some
lot of them
cases.
pay for
Correct, but
trash.
how
Yeah,
much
I
is
mean, a
that?
lot of them- yeah.
I mean, I get it,
How
but
much
you don't
can
have-
it really be? Though?
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have to pay to keep up the pool.
So I'm
you
just
don't have to pay
saying,
to
but
keep up the
she's right about
landscaping.
that, and especially in this market, that's a great way to go about
You
it.
never have to pay for a new
That's the
roof.
one hiccup that people
Yeah.
do have though when they move towards a condo townhouse slash single family.
But location, right?
So that's the thing. If it's in a great location, then
Like
yeah.
Summerlin?
I mean, it's worth it.
Right.
And then-
if it's reselling, look, I just got into a deal, backed out of the deal. We went through the process, looked at the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Foundation was a problem. It was coming up on the right side of the house.
And the floor plan on it sucked.
the floor plan was terrible.
Dude,
Now-
they designed it themselves. What,
Yeah.
Don't design your own house.
So we backed out of that deal. But I think what you're looking at is like, well, the location of that area is really something that people have to look at. Now, reselling that home would be tough because you have to find the right buyer. It's not a traditional style home. It had some issues, right? Had some really high ceilings in the back. Looked like they added it on. The point is, you may not be able to sell a home like that. And if she's right, which is Beth saying, maybe you buy a condo because you can go into a location that's
Absolutely.
desirable
You wanna be in.
and then resell it. That's really what you have to
Yeah.
look at.
I mean, it's all relative, right? So you pay less for the condo or town. I mean, so yeah, you're still, it's going to be relative to what you pay for it. So you're paying less for a condo or townhouse in say Summerlin versus a single family residence. But when you go to sell, you're going to get more for it than you are because you're in Summerlin too, though.
Yeah.
Not as much as a single family residence, but you still, it's all relative. You're paying cheaper, but you're making up for it when you sell.
And
because,
a lot of, I mean, if you find, depending on where you look, a lot of condos are just as big as single family residences
Plenty.
as far as square footage
Some of them,
wise.
yeah.
The only thing with
some
me
of
is I
them.
don't
a
like
lot
a
of them
shared
aren't,
dwelling.
of course, but
I do.
Understandable.
I have a lot of activity
Yeah.
that goes on in my house
Especially
where I'm
if you
doing
have
a lot of
kids and
lifting,
dogs.
lifting weights. And
He said lifting weights.
Lifting
He's playing a
weights,
DJ
right, yeah.
and like.
first world problems.
yeah.
I got a lot.
There's a lot of action going in my house. Like MTV Cribs, and this is where the magic happens, baby.
There's just a lot of things that goes on,
I did MTV Cribs. I'd take them back to my office at home. I'd be like, this is where the magic happens. I went in my bedroom. I'm like, this is where the
What are you
magic
doing
happens.
at your house? Like you can't share a
I'm making
toilet.
magic in my office.
But going back to it, Brett, you got anything else to say about?
Nah, man. I'm just
about real estate. Is there anything else? Not about where the magic happens.
Just if you want a great realtor, use me.
That's a little egocentric, like most realtors.
702-628-3476, BretJenny.com.
Right?
You know who to call.
Okay, you know, I did want to say something, and this is about Nevada. It's Nevada specific, and this is something a lot of people don't take into account when they're looking for a rental property, and they're always looking at yields. Okay, when you have that rental property and you're starting to make income and stuff, guess what? You have to file income taxes, right? So if you're in one of the 45 states that has income taxes, you're going to have to pay income taxes on your rental income every year. And then when you go to sell that property, of course the feds get a piece, but guess what? A lot of states like California, Illinois, New York, they have very high capital gains taxes, and you're going to end up giving them a big
Nevada
piece of
doesn't.
money, and Nevada does not. So Nevada, if you get a rental property, it's not just those yields, it's the fact that you're not paying annual income taxes, at least at the state level, on your income. And on top of that, when you go and sell it for hopefully a lot of money down the line, you do have to pay the feds some money, but you don't have to pay another same amount to the state.
Taxes
like
are
you would in a lot of
set up
other
pro-business
states.
in Nevada.
Yeah, so
They're
just that
pro-business.
is something to keep in mind about Nevada, why we are a good place to investments and not just based on our yields.
There's basically four main states where you see all companies. Like you could have like Nike, that's headquarters is in Oregon, but they're LLC'd in Delaware or Florida or Texas or Nevada or Wyoming. Those are probably the five best states for business. And that's why you see all major corporations, usually that's where they're at. They're based at for taxes.
We have very liberal LLC laws on top of the tax laws. And so here you do not have to put the name of the owners on the LLC. So
That's
there's
good.
lots of different,
of different things.
advantageous for investors and business people in many different ways for taxes.
Esmeralda, do
here.
you got anything else to say about this? Do you concur?
She concurs. She just wants to go see some hockey players.
I still see escrows opening, so there's still transactions. There's still people buying and selling. So don't get discouraged if you're in the market to buy and it's your time. Then
if anything, right
time.
now is probably the best time in a year to buy.
and hey, we're still
Yeah,
I'm not
Yeah.
saying you're going to
in
save
California.
20% on your house, but you're going to not have to deal with as
The
much
headaches.
competition, if any competition, and you're going to get more of what you want, more of a say in the deal.
Let me
ahead.
say something. I think too that the reason that we're feeling more that it's actually slowed down a lot is also one because you have the holidays, but also remember, you guys, that there was a lot of deaths that took place this year. So I think a lot of people are just chilling, kind of like, hey, I'm enjoying my life. I'm doing other things that
So you're saying people have gotten a perspective of life that's different now than it was before because there's a lot of changes that's gone on.
Yeah,
People,
and families.
A lot of adversity. A lot of people losing their job. Not
I
recovering.
mean, I don't know about jobs, but just losing people.
Well,
I think it's a blend
so
of
when
everything.
they die, they lose their job.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
That was kind of a dry humor.
No,
It was
it's true. Your family
bad
loses their
joke. No one
income.
laughed. Everyone kind of stared at me, so I should have said that.
No,
It's
Your
like
family
Brett,
loses
use your inside
income.
voice.
Right?
Oh, it's
Same
a
kind of
good
look.
point, though.
Well, look, at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, everybody wants to get the information. Hopefully you guys are getting this information from this channel. Pass it to your friends, right? I mean, we want to get
Absolutely.
we want this channel to grow. We want to become
Yes.
the known channel out there for
We want to be rich and famous.
financing real estate, entrepreneurs.
No?
What? Rich and famous?
We don't want to be rich and famous?
Well, I'm already rich, but I'm not.
I don't want to be famous.
I want both. I want
But
it all.
wealthy, yes.
How about you
We're
just,
not known like
that's
that.
why we're the podcast to the stars.
how about you just want to give content that people can trust you on?
Fine. All
Why
right.
is it always about money, Brett?
It's about
That's what-
knowledge, giving wisdom.
I'm not about money. I'm about Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, that's about cryptocurrency. But anyways,
Nah.
going back to it, you guys, if you like the information, please subscribe. Also, leave a comment in the comment section. We're going to end the show. We're starting to do this hour thing, right? Kind of keep it real,
Yeah.
keep it good and keep it clean and just done and get it out of the way too, type of thing. Where
Make-
people are not sitting there going, "All right, guys,
Wrap it up.
2 hours."
Wrap it up.
It's enough conversation.
Wait, can I tell one
Real
last thing?
estate. Great subject. Next.
All right.
I was saying I'm rich because my name is Richard, not because I was bragging about finances.
dude.
Hey, but
Dude,
remember,
dude.
rich is different for everybody. It might
No,
not
I
be
know, you're right.
financial. It
You're
might
right.
just be, hey, I'm rich because I'm
rich
healthy.
in love.
If it comes to family and friends, I'm a millionaire.
All right, guys, you got anything
They
else?
don't pay my
Yeah.
bills.
You guys got anything else to say?
Nope.
All right, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to put the content in Saturday, we got somebody coming on. You guys want to go into this? We have a nice guest that's coming on. He's going to talk about what's happening in the cybercrime world and talking about like what happens with wires. And this person's on the forefront of what's really going on in Las Vegas, also entitled. Esmeralda's got some stories about that as well and how this is starting to become a problem. So guys, please tune in Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I'm Dan French, your host of the French Workbench Podcast. We'll see you then.
Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of Lonely Street, that